giving you an opportunity to get the full story from the people who tell it best. This is Mediacom News Leaders.
Hello everyone and welcome to Mediacom News Leaders. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Carol Kelly. Joining us today, the Executive Director of the Iowa Children's Museum in Coralville. We've got Jeff Capps. Jeff, hi.
All right. Hi, how are you?
Well, fantastic. Those that might not be familiar with the Children's Museum, can you tell us a little bit about how long it's been around and the history?
Yes, so you already told about our location. We're in Coralville at the Coral Ridge Mall and have been there for 20 years, which is actually a big milestone, of course. So we're going to be celebrating that on November 16th. So maybe we can talk about that a little bit later. But we are a 25,000 square foot interactive learning environment. So we talk about playing to learn. We talk about the power of play. And that's really what it's all about. So we've got these highly interactive exhibits that are all educational in nature, but for kids, they're there to play, and we believe that playing to learn is critically important. So it's a really neat place.
So those that might be familiar with the museum, there's always something new, it feels like. Can you tell us
Yes.
just kind of where you're at today?
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple new things. If you haven't been to the museum recently, we just renovated our hospital exhibit. So it's the UI Stead Family Children's Hospital has generously sponsored that exhibit for many years. But about this time last year, we went to them and said, we're really looking to do a major revamp of this. So they got behind it both financially, but perhaps even more importantly, they got like 8 different departments involved in helping us to kind of audit what was there in the exhibit at present and then make some suggestions in terms of changes. So some of those changes were really subtle. Others were a little bit more dramatic. And one of the really cool things, if you've been to the Children's Hospital and then you walk in our exhibit, there are some really familiar aspects to it. So we even have some wall panels that were left over from the construction of the exhibit, these brightly colored wall panels, and just a lot of different touches that you just have to see it to experience that. But we're really proud of that. It's getting a really good response in terms of just freshening that up and having more current aspects to that. And really, a big part of that with the hospital is not only to expose kids to those aspects of career possibilities in the medical field, but also to demystify going to the doctor or going to the hospital as well. So when you see kids in there playing and learning about that and the different systems of the body and seeing the different elements of an exam or the dental wing of it, it's not really a wing, small space, but it's really cool to see kids relating to that and knowing that it's making an impact. So that's very new. We also have a space shuttle now, Space Shuttle Imagine, as we're calling it, and that's in our Take Flight exhibit, which is our big exhibit dedicated to flight. So that's just a very small portion of that exhibit, but it's something we're really proud of, especially in this 50th anniversary of the moon landing. It's really cool to have that.
So my kids, of course, I always talk about the grocery store,
Oh,
and
yes.
the pizza place.
Yes.
For those that might not be or haven't been to the museum, can you walk us through a little bit?
Yeah, so you're talking about portions of the CityWorks exhibit, and it's really a very large portion of the museum. The hospital is in that portion of the exhibit as well, or the museum as well. So yeah, so each of these exhibits are organized around one of our learning initiatives, and so it's healthy kids and arts and culture, STEM, list goes on, about 5, 6 different learning initiatives. And so in these exhibits, like the pizzeria, it appears to just be fun play. So we're gonna make pizzas. We've got these different, not real ingredients, but fake ingredients and pretend play. But what we see happen in the course of kids making those pizzas and serving their parents or serving whoever's there, you see all of those social things that are happening and customer service and all of this cool stuff that they're experiencing. But then you see the math as well. So when they're looking at the pizza and, okay, I want half of it with pepperoni and half with green pepper or whatever, they're learning about fractions. They're learning about equal shares of things. There's just all of those embedded learning opportunities in what we do. And so that's one of the really neat things for me to see. And I'm still new to the museum, so I'm learning a lot too, just in terms of how do we talk about that, how do we make sure that our exhibits are really high quality and it's not just an indoor playground, and not that that's anything wrong with that, but we want it to be more than that.
Talked about location at Coral Ridge Mall. Can you tell us a little bit about admission and costs and those kinds of things and when you're open?
Absolutely. So we are generally open 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., except on Fridays we are open until 8 p.m., and then that varies a little bit on the weekends. And then Mondays we're open during the summer, and then on off days for school. So generally Monday is a is a closed day, but that varies a little bit. So admission is $9 for anyone over 1 year of age. And so that is for children and adults, because we think, we want parents to be engaged with their kids too. So it's, if you go to the movies and you go to see Spider-Man with your kid, you're not going to say, well, actually, I'm just here with my kid. You're going to pay admission. So we want parents to be fully vested. We want them to be playing and experiencing that with their children. But the one thing to say about that too is we're all about accessibility. So we look to offer up to 25% of our annual admissions free of charge. And so we do that through a range of different types of programs and special days. So we really want this to be accessible for everyone throughout the region.
You have special days coming up, like we had talked about.
Yes.
A 20th year anniversary or milestone there. That's coming up in November. Tell us about that.
Yes, so Saturday, November 16th, and I hope everybody hears this and comes out. It's going to be a great free admission day. We'll be open from 10 to 6 and free of charge to everyone to come experience the museum, whether you've been there or not before. We want you to come experience it, celebrate it with us, and we're very excited about that. So one other cool thing that we'll be doing that day is partnering with a new collective, I guess you might call it, called Open Heartland. And this is an initiative that's being spearheaded by the Convention and Visitors Bureau, Iowa City, Coralville, and many different nonprofits that are coming together to really celebrate diversity and inclusion in our community, but not just talk about that, but actually do some things to make sure that people in our community and throughout the region feel welcome. And so we're going to be doing some international games that day and different multicultural events in the museum that day to really celebrate the collaboration with that organization. And so it'll be really a special day to have both of those aspects, the celebration of this milestone for us, but then also to really recognize the good work that group is doing in the community.
You're talking about inclusion. We have to talk about accessibility.
Yes.
And let's talk a little bit about how important that is and what you've done to make it accessible to all.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. So I talked about the 25% earlier, and that's a big piece. I think this past fiscal year we were just under 25%, like 24.5 or something. So we aim to be between 20 and 25% free admissions. And what that means is, well, right now we have 325 families that are in our ICM for Everyone program, ICM, Iowa Children's Museum for Everyone. And that is a totally free membership program, and those come from referrals from different organizations throughout the area. So YPN here in Cedar Rapids is one of our partners. We've got a number of partners down in the Coralville, Iowa City area. And it's just it's a great program because we're looking to those agencies to refer families that would really benefit from this experience of having a membership throughout the year, but would not be able to afford that. And so that's really special to us. And we really believe that that's an important thing that we need to continue doing. We don't want there to be barriers to what we're doing. The free admission day is another example of that. We have organizational memberships. So is another example of a Cedar Rapids-based company, Four Oaks. Great partnership with organizations like that are able to bring their clients and their partners free of charge. So there's a lot of different aspects to that. Different scholarships that we offer for school groups to get them in at a reduced rate or maybe even free as well, based on a variety of factors. And so that's critically important. And then we really try to create a space that is welcoming for all as well in terms of other accessibility functions. So we have a superhero night the last Sunday of the month, 6 to 7:30, where families with children with special needs, totally self-identified. We're not asking them what's the challenge here. It's, if you identify in that way and you want to come and be a part of that, a night that the museum is quieter, not as much sensory overload, which can sometimes be the case. It's a great opportunity for those families that might have children with physical or emotional disabilities of any sort to come and experience that.
So also, let's talk about membership. And we talked about
Yes.
it being free for some, but it obviously supports the museum, and it's a very important piece of this to
Yes.
keep you guys sustained. Tell us about how easy it is to get a membership.
Yeah, well, we hope it's very easy, and you can do it online at our website, theicm.org. But really, memberships are a huge part of sustaining us as a nonprofit. So a lot of people don't know or don't think about the fact that we're a nonprofit. We're an attraction, we are a destination, and we bill ourselves that way. But we are a nonprofit organization, so we get anywhere from, I'd say, 50 to 60% of our revenue from daily admissions and memberships. But then the other 45%, we're raising the traditional way that any other nonprofit would. So back to that membership piece, it's $145 for a family for unlimited visits for the year. And we think that's a great value. As long as families are coming even somewhat consistently, they're going to more than pay for that. And again, we have that, and we have a grandparents membership where grandparents can pay that $145, and then they can they've got 11 grandkids, they can throw them all in the membership and they can bring them as many times as they want as well. So a lot of really cool ways for people to get involved and support the mission, but also have this incredible place to go.
So the learning doesn't happen only inside the walls
Yes.
of the Children's Museum. Talk to us about what you're doing outside.
We really pride ourselves on trying to be a great community partner. So there's a variety of things that we're doing. We're working with area school groups. We work with the Iowa City Community School District to do after-school outreach programs, and so that is great. We're contracted with them to do that throughout the school year and then also in the summer. So that's a wonderful way for us to be involved. We work with libraries throughout the area in some of our major cities here in the corridor, but then also in a lot of small communities. So with our summer reading programs, we go and do outreach programs there. We're working with the farmers markets. We're doing, downtown block parties, you name it. And so we really try to put ourselves out there. We do a great program that I love called Not a Box Parties, and this is based on a book called Not a Box. I think you've actually seen us do one of those Not a Box parties before, Carol, and it's just fantastic. So the concept is, this is not a box, it's a rocket ship, or it's my yacht,
train.
or I don't know, train, yacht. But it's so cool to see kids just let their imaginations run wild and see them work together as well. So sometimes kids are very solitary and they're like, I want to build my house. This is my, And other times they're just fully collaborative in how they build this thing, whatever it is. And so that's a great example of the kind of thing that we're doing out in the community to just celebrate play, and make sure that everybody has access to it. And I will tell you, we're asked to do a lot more things than we're able to do. That's the hardest part, is we have a finite number of staff and volunteers who can do things. But I hope that folks who are watching, if you have an idea for a way for us to plug in your community, please let us know. And we really consider ourselves a regional institution. So even though we are in Coralville, if you're in the Cedar Rapids area, you're 15, 20 minutes from Coralville. It's not far. People sometimes, I think, go, oh my gosh, it's so far down there. We really aim to be a regional attraction and a regional resource and a community resource. And I think we hold up our end of that bargain pretty well by being out there and doing a lot of different things. Let's
bring that community piece to it. How can businesses, individuals, the community help support the museum?
Yes, so you hit on that earlier in terms of memberships. I hope that people will consider, if you've got school-age children. We talk about birth to age 12 as kind of the sweet spot for us, and people kind of giggle about birth sometimes. They're like, well, what is my newborn going to do? Well, the newborn comes with the 3-year-old or the 4-year-old. They're absorbing that, in some way, and being present in that environment. And it's not long before they're able to go into some of our exhibits that are geared for younger kids and really experience that and enjoy it. So membership is huge. Just coming and being a part of the museum is very important to us, and we want them to be there. We'll probably have up to 200,000 visitors by the end of this year. So we're attracting a lot of folks, a lot of visits. Like any other nonprofit, we have some great special events which are on our website, so people can support those. A big golf outing in the spring with the UI Stead Family Children's Hospital, whom I mentioned earlier. Gala, of course, as everybody does in February. Not everybody, but a lot of people. And then smaller events throughout the year as well. Committee members, board members, we're always looking for folks to plug in a variety of ways. So not real different from your standard nonprofit, but some really cool opportunities to engage. And I think, like any nonprofit, as you know, Carol, I came from Habitat for Humanity, which still feels a little bit weird because I did that work for 15 years, but it's so cool to see, as you kind of transition in the nonprofit field, to see how passionate people are about the work that's happening in our community. And so I think there's always a core of people that your mission's going to resonate with, and I think it's our job to find ways to draw them in. So I hope if something that I've said today resonates with somebody, that they'll let me know, and we'll find a way to plug them in. So we have to mention the Iowa STEM Pass. Yes. Let's talk a little bit about that. Yeah, really excited about that. So the Iowa STEM Pass is a collaboration with the Blank Park Zoo and the Science Center of Iowa in Des Moines. And this just came from a conversation about possibly doing joint membership programs. And it was kind of, this was before my time, but what we landed on was the idea of having this pass book that came from an idea, I think, from the Seattle area that somebody saw. And basically, it's a coupon book. And so you buy it for $20 for a child book and $30 for an adult book, because some of the admission at those other two institutions are different, those for adults and kids. And basically, you get this great benefit, because you've got this book that has admissions to each of those institutions, food, coupons, free parking, carousel rides at the Coral Ridge Mall, buy one, get one free train ride. So really cool stuff. So hopefully people will come to one of those places preferably the Iowa Children's Museum, and buy one of those because it's a great value.
We learned so much today. Tell us about maybe a one-stop shop for all that we've talked about today.
One-stop shop. TheICM.org is our website. And speaking of shops, we've got a great gift shop, too, at our museum. So hopefully people will come down to the Coral Ridge Mall and check us out. Just love to have people there.
Always a pleasure, Jeff. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Carol.
This has been Mediacom News Leaders, your opportunity to get the full story from the most reliable sources, exclusively on Mediacom News Leaders.